The transitional rules for trade between Ireland and Northern Ireland were supposed to end at the end of March. London is now extending it, which calls the EU to the scene. By the way, I didn't always want to bring just the short videos with only one topic. Therefore, I report in this video and the coming ones one after the other on different topics. So you should stay tuned until the end if you don't want to miss any topic. And if you don't want to miss anything at all, just subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the little bell. The little bell. The already difficult question about the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland is developing into an open trade conflict, according to a report by several media. The government in London has unilaterally extended a transitional arrangement for the delivery of unsupported food from Great Britain to Northern Ireland until October, which was originally only planned until the end of March. The EU Commission sees this step as a breach of the exit agreement for Brexit and has sent a reminder to the United Kingdom. In the end, the dispute could end up in the European Court of Justice, but this will definitely drag on. The European Parliament is meanwhile using tougher means against the breach of contract and postponing its approval of the trade agreement with the British, so not the withdrawal agreement that is ratified by the DCA. A previously planned vote in the plenary at the end of March was postponed, reports the German MEP Bernd Lange from the Social Democrats. He's chairman of the Trade Committee in the EU Parliament. Fortunately, we still have the leverage with ratification, said Lange. He had long feared that the British would pull out of the laborious compromise at one point or another. The EU must remain strict on food because ultimately it is about protecting consumers in the EU, said the MEP, recalling that mad cow disease had spread across the EU from Great Britain that time. The withdrawal treaty stipulates that deliveries from Great Britain to Northern Ireland are checked in order to be able to keep the inner Irish border open. And for the EU to want that, it doesn't matter who signed that thing. Just to all the stupid Brexiteers always bringing that up. This in turn enraged radical Northern Irish who have the closest possible ties to Great Britain and who have already threatened customs officials. And another thing, freed from Europe, England can still not enjoy the new great freedom to the fullest. There's all sorts of stink on the now tough border between the European Union and the third country of Great Britain. The border between the main island and Northern Ireland, which belongs to the kingdom, proves to be particularly tricky. This is where mentalities collide. There is a risk of permanent conflict or recurring pain. This most delicate part of the Brexit agreement is supposed to work according to the I don't exist principle. A border should be created that fulfills its tasks so imperceptibly as if it didn't even exist. Why should it pretend it doesn't exist but still fulfill the important function of a boundary? Because this border is supposed to be installed in the middle of the UK, which usually is really absurd. But it has to be there in the middle because otherwise a border between Northern Ireland and Ireland has to, and they are part of the EU, would have to be rebuilt. And that should be avoided in any case. Why? Because in the good old days of the EU, this border had practically disappeared, which made a hitherto stable peace agreement between the Irish Republic and the Irish North possible. New border controls between the EU and the Kingdom on the Emerald Isle would mean new trouble. And border controls between the two islands in the middle of the Kingdom, as we see, also means trouble. Because the Protestant loyalists in the north of Ireland hate anything that smells like a separation from the Kingdom. So also a border, however cleverly veiled. A basically impossible situation that arose from Brexit. So the whole fault is Brexit, nothing else. How do you deal with such an impossibility? As mentioned at the beginning, this is where the cultures collide, those of the continent and those of the island kingdom. The culture of tight planning and mountains of files and the culture of ingenious muddling through. It's been a while since a British official told someone at a party, German politicians always ask us about our overall concept. We don't have anything like that. He was describing the English tendency to say, when faced with difficult questions, we won't cross this bridge until we've got there. In any case, there can only be one solution to the British-Irish border question that is acceptable for London. English muddling through. A border that shouldn't be, but must be one, can only have been created in the English way. It is a miracle that Brussels agreed to such a messy political phenomenon in the first place. The inevitable signs of fatigue after several years of negotiations must have played a role here. At some point, there comes a point where even the tidiest says, close your eyes and go through. How do the British want to muddle through this one? So far, they have been allowed to do so with the approval of Brussels, because the accurate Ursula von der Leyen was assured by no means an accurate interlocutor, Boris Johnson, to turn a blind eye for a while. This while is over at the end of the month. As of April, European order is to prevail again, and the border between the British Isles and Northern Ireland should be serious. Boris Johnson wants to continue to treat his border as a non-border, so that the Northern Irish Protestants don't get the correct impression that there really is a border. That is why there have already been heated exchanges between London and Brussels. And the accusations are, Boris Johnson wants to break an international contract again. The accusation is correct. But Johnson feels that the contract he has signed is an unbearably tight political corset that is choking his air. When he signed it, he must have thought, if I unobtrusively loosen the thing later, nobody will notice. But nothing escapes the eagle eyes of the Brussels people. On April 1st, they want to tighten the corset of the British again. If he continues to resist, the Brussels will threaten him with other instruments of torture. A first has already been shown. The EU Parliament, as I stated in the beginning of the video, unlike the 27 EU governments, initially refused to ratify the Brexit Free Trade Agreement. The bridge they are supposed to cross suddenly hangs in the air. And there's not just this one bridge. Rather, those affected by Brexit, as the singer sings, have to cross at least 7 bridges, if not more. It's a famous song in Germany, by the way. Meanwhile, exporters and importers between the island and the continent are drowning in the flood of new documentation requirements. New in this case, not new on this planet, because it's for third countries all the time. Fish rot because the hope for great freedom of fishing has not materialized. British Sun retirees have to leave Spain every 3 months and get used to the English rain again. EU citizens leave the island frustrated. Financial service providers are moving from London to Paris and Frankfurt. Britain's new sovereignty hurts. Too many bridges have to be crossed at once unprepared. London lives on the hope that one day the pain of separation will subside and that one can then enjoy the great freedom to the fullest. And Brussels is unmoved, according to the motto, Europeans don't know pain. But the pain of the British is also Europe's pain. They need each other, whether as in the past as a family member or as now as close neighbors. The British dream of becoming a world nation or a global nation is no more real than the European self-deception that one would be rid of a nuisance without the British on the long term. In fact, without the British nuisance, one has become poorer and weaker. Is there a way out of this self-delusion of the boundaries that are none and out of the mutual snappy "we don't need you"? Yes, the solution is so close, a little further across the North Sea to the east or north. Its name is Norway. A happy, rich country closely based on the EU, but only based on, and still sovereign, one might say, but the members are sovereign too. Without overconfidence, but networked around the world. Such a new Scandinavian-style neighborhood can only exist if Boris Johnson retires and Brussels takes it easy. And another thing, given the progress made in vaccination and the prospect of a return to normal, the consumer climate in Great Britain is better than it has been since the outbreak of the corona pandemic. The corresponding barometer climbed by 2.0 to 105.4 points in February, as the survey institute YouGov announced on Monday in London. This is the best value in a year after which the corona pandemic began. Accordingly, consumers expect a better economy in the next 12 months, which should also have an impact on income. Great Britain, which has been badly shaken by the coronavirus, is making much faster progress in vaccinating than most other countries, although at the moment with the first jabs, but we will see how that will be in the continuation of the year. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has therefore promised that the economy could return to normal at the end of June. In 2020, the British gross domestic product collapsed by almost 10%, about twice as much as the German one. And something else, the corona pandemic and Brexit hampered deal activity between the UK and continental Europe in 2020, with the number of European businesses bought by UK acquirers falling by nearly a third. The number of takeovers by UK acquirers of continental European businesses fell 30% from 488 in 2019 to 342 in 2020, new researchers found. The overall number of deals targeting continental European companies fell by 27% from 6,665 to 4,843 over the same period, but the UK's decline was notably sharper than the US's, which fell by a quarter in the same period. Global consulting firm Accuracy, which put together the research, said concerns over the potential impact of a no-deal Brexit deterred UK corporates from making purchases of European businesses last year. Additionally, the shock to the economy caused by the COVID-19 lockdown reduced the number of deals across Europe. However, it noted deals from UK businesses targeting European companies fell even more rapidly than overall deal numbers across all countries. Accuracy said the risks that a potential no-deal Brexit would bring, such as restricting the free movement of business executives between the UK and the EU, caused deal activity to slow down. This was exacerbated by uncertainty about potential divergence between UK and EU laws from January 1st and what that would mean for businesses. Leontine Koons-Betts, managing partner at Accuracy Netherlands, said, "Businesses looking to undertake transactions have had to contend with bureaucratic barriers and logistical difficulties, which have made completing a takeover even more complex. However, looking ahead, we may see a recovery in deal activity from UK companies who are looking to build up their base in Europe to bypass the problems of being outside of the single market." Accuracy's research also showed takeovers in Europe by UK private equity funds held up better than those by UK corporates as a whole. The proportion of takeovers by UK-based PE houses increased from 43% in 2019 to 47% in 2020. The number of deals by UK PE funds fell by a smaller 23% from 209 in 2019 to 160 in 2020. The consultancy said the financial firepower that PE funds have at their disposal had allowed them to move forward with acquisitions when corporate acquirers have been more reluctant to.